Like Earthkeeper here from the Quantum Realm Institute Yoga and Mystery School, and we have the special guest Rachel here today. Rachel, thank you so much for being with us. I'm so excited about this.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to know,
Mhm.
how did you become a yogi?
Um, I think I've always been.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I came into this world and I liked stretching, I liked moving, I liked dancing, I like music, I like sucking my thumb, playing with my hair, climbing trees, you know. I liked I liked being like a tomboyish, girlish boy, Peter Pan kind of feeling. And I always liked sports and stuff. And then I got in a car accident. I was stopped and hit from behind at 60 miles an hour with my foot on the brake. So my pelvis torqued, my head whiplashed, and it caused my body to go into kind of like a fight or flight. And all my connective tissue got really tight. So at the time, I was a fitness instructor. I did step aerobics. And all of a sudden, my body just didn't work anymore. And I would get really tired. My legs would shake and my pelvis hurt. And doctors didn't really know what to do other than give me a bunch of medicines that were just experimental at the time. And, I was just able to learn so much about how the body worked. So after 8 years of taking all their advice and them taking all of the parts and pieces of me that they were able to take as far as experimenting because they didn't know, um, there's a three-dimensional web underneath our skin called fascia, and it is affected by the amount of adrenaline in our body. And it can go from a jelly like to a solid, to a thick, hard, solidish kind of tissue, depending on the amount of adrenaline that's running through our bloodstream. So if we're high anxiety, which I was back then, and I was a college student, I was a single mom, I had my own business, I was really going after it. And then boom, it was like my body, I couldn't depend on it anymore. And so I learned about how to reset the movement patterns through yoga. Yeah. I After 8 years, I had a great chiropractor who gave me some movement ideas, and I started using them, and it opened my joints. And then I had a lady give me a pass, like she paid my way to a yoga training, and I was like, oh, I understand this. And so I started doing it, and I started learning to listen to my body, like to be so quiet that I would like hold a pose and I would hear how my body wanted me to move so it could get the pain and tension out of the joints. And so I just kind of unraveled from there. And then I think I've been certified, which the certification class was my first yoga class. I had never been to one before. Uh, but I realized it was exactly what I needed. And then I learned about Qigong and about the energy in the body, energy field. And I learned about how our thoughts are connected in this consciousness that we have. And it was just, it kind of through personal experience, I guess.
Yeah, puzzle pieces. How they
Yeah.
come together.
Hmm.
Yeah. So tell me more. What did you do then after you got trained? Did you teach classes?
Yeah, I started teaching classes and I got the range of motion back in my body. I was able to do kind of acrobatics again. I was feeling really good about myself and feeling really healthy. I thought I'd like to experiment and use this on geriatric people, like people who are having a hard time moving. And so I started working in senior homes and doing senior programs, and it worked. It was like the music brought them back to life, and their bodies remembered how to move, and they started opening up again and getting younger and youthing, really, that range of motion. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
right?
Dancing out trauma.
Yes.
It's a real thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found too that our bodies are like a pump. So we need to move like this microscopic movement of our spine. That is what the indigenous and the aborigines, they move this in their dance. And this movement, this fish-like movement is actually creating a pumping action at our brain that's causing a stimulation of these beautiful glands inside of the limbic system that starts firing all these things inside the brain, and then we start to feel like we're waking up and or we're high because we're higher, we're feeling lighter, we're feeling like more light is coming on inside of our light bulb.
More life force is flowing through our
Yes,
body.
exactly. And we have more energy, and we eat less
Junk.
yeah, we eat less food, and we feel like we have more to give, and we radiate rather than contract, you know, from like a cellular level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know. And I love dance, and I've always loved dance. So I like to combine yoga and dance. I like to teach people everything I learned about massage and kinesiology, which is like the joint movement patterns. They're very important to the body. And so if we can hold ourselves in a closed chain exercise and move our joints around that, the body can literally remember. Yeah.
And they say that the body, once it learns a patterned way of moving that takes less energy, that's the one it will take on and do. And it actually takes more energy to be in contraction
Right.
than it does to just flow and be free, spontaneous movement.
And if we can think of ourselves as like we're not really solid, even though we look like it. We're like 95% space.
Right.
It's hard to imagine, but it's really true.
Yeah.
So like you can either be compacted or you can let that space be open, right? You can take up more space. You can, so it's a really cool practice if you squeeze all the muscles in your body and hold your breath and squeeze your face and squeeze your sphincter, squeeze it all, and then exhale and release and just feel the energy flow through your body. And there's so much potential there because we've been taught to sit down, be quiet, don't talk, don't you dare laugh, you know, da 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 da, you know, unless we tell you to. It's appropriate times to laugh, only appropriate times, you know, like, oh, the light wasn't on, I didn't know. But you know, and that's another thing. Like, I was at a point where I had been so serious trying to achieve in life, like get through college and be a good mom and blah, 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 and the business and stuff, that I literally was like so shut down, I couldn't cry anymore. I was just like this numb. And I remember thinking, I don't know how to cry. And laughing kind of hurt me. It kind of hurt. It was kind of like, wow, I don't know how to lose control like that. I don't know how to like. So then I realized too that it's through like the jiggling. You know, I worked with children with spasticity, right? And when I would jiggle them, their arm would let go.
And how many times did they laugh or smile?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Every time.
And when they're smiling and laughing, they're releasing good chemicals from the brain.
Yeah, exactly. And yet we can do this with each other. Yeah. And we can do this with ourselves. Like I lay on the floor. I give myself floor time like a toddler every single morning, like on my bed or I like a sheepskin. You know, it feels so good. And I just let myself like roll out. Like and I stack myself on all fours and I just let my body move and massage itself from the inside out. And I breathe in and I give myself free oxygen. Because if I can get out of bed in that pain-free zone, I can be so much better for everybody else that I want into, right? And I can carry a light in me, and I can have enough reserve energy to like
share with others.
Yeah, and not feel drained because I'm open. I'm letting it come in and go out, letting it come in and go out. Yeah. And when we sleep, we have a tendency to like throw off some toxins, you know. So as we lay there, our bodies can like kind of like the parses from the fishbowl settle, you know. And so when we stand up, we can tap in these special parts of our body and just help getting our lymph flowing, just touching our body in these places. Really, you can feel it right away if you just do it. Like right now, if you're watching this, just touch yourself.
And tapping.
Yeah,
I like
the
to tap
tapping.
everything.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Uh-huh.
feels so
This
good.
is part of my morning self-care, you know? It's like getting yourself open for the day because everything goes better for you.
Our body's our vessel. We have to take care of it.
Yeah.
Honor it. Listen to it.
I think that I've been teaching exercise since I was 19 years old, but I've been really into health and fitness since I was about 14 years old. So that's like, I don't know, 4, I don't know how many years, 30 years or something like that, 35. Um, and I'm seeing a trend that people are really starting to care about themselves. They don't just want a pill to fix it anymore. They don't, yeah, they don't want to get their tummy tucked just because, you know, they want to, their liposuction. They're realizing it's not about the way we look. It's about literally, are we healthy? And what does healthy mean?
And how do we feel?
Yes. What does healthy mean? What does vital mean? What does it mean to feel abundant, to feel satisfied, to feel sufficient and sustained and, you know, whole? What does that feel like?
Yeah.
To not need something outside of myself. What does it feel like to sit in stillness and just be chill and do nothing and like it and have that feel good, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
True yogi, a true wizard. I mean, to not need anything outside of yourself, right? If you can give everything to yourself and not need it.
And it's through the imagination that you do. And it's cultivating the relationship with the feelings. So if we haven't felt like there was a time when I had a lot of grief in my life for a long period of time, and I identified with that, and I literally thought that that's what life was, just grief. Because nobody talks about grief and nobody tells you how to get around grief or get through grief. And even when they do, you're just like, fuck you and fuck grief. And I fuck everyone else and fuck, I'm not doing that shit. And I hate this. And I'm out of control of myself and I don't know how to get control of myself. And it's a really vulnerable place to be. But it's also a place where great healing can take place. Because you know what happens? Once the fucking cork is off and grief is coming out, all the shit's coming out. You know, all the stuff that we stuffed down and said, I'll deal with you later. And oh my God, that hurt. And I hate them. Me too. And I hate you. And I wish I, you know, all this is going to come out. But the cool thing is, it's only like a few seconds, maybe a minute and a half, 90 seconds, you know?
Right.
And it's over.
Right. But a lot of times people identify with it and then they replay it.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, this is what's going on. This is how I feel, but it's not who I am.
Yeah. It's like when you think there's a boogeyman under your bed and you look and you go, why did I really believe that? You know, I really swear I saw it in my mind. So then why do we, if we can use our imagination, you know, for our creation,
yeah,
then why don't we use it for the good? You know, so when we used to say on the cartoons or something, use your powers for good. What does that mean? What does it mean to use your powers for good? What?
I mean, to
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that, like, for me, that's to evolve and to do better than I did yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's your mission.
Yeah.
And it's different for everyone, you know. And if we can respect that each one is on a different mission, looking for a different kind of thing on the thing, down the path of the thing, and we just get to bump into them and notice their really cool outfits and the fancy way of walking, you know, and that we're lucky that our energies pass by each other and trusting that they just gave us the information we needed and we gave them the information that they needed. And when we wake up tomorrow, we're going to have a whole new idea about how to do that thing we didn't know what we do with yesterday. Like,
everybody is your teacher.
Yes.
Everything is your teacher.
And it doesn't need words and it doesn't need context. It's just about energy. It's just about, I love this world so much that I'm going to help myself feel the best feelings that I can muster in this physical body to raise the vibration of the whole planet so everyone can feel better. You know, so because we are one. like people think you're out of control. That's right, because I have to balance out the ones who are out of control the other way that is so-called socially acceptable right now, but I feel is inhumane. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So what are you doing these days? Like, what do you do these days now?
Well, these days, the first thing that popped in my mind is I'm learning about the shamanic ways, which feels so natural to me. I would say, like, I thought about what I am. Am I a yogi? What am I? All these things, and it's really like the path I follow is the natural path. It's like, what does creation do? If I can find it in everything in creation, then I know that that's my way. You know, if I see that pattern in all of life, then that's the one that I follow. So I try to do that. I'm here visiting my family and friends in this having a winter wonderland experience because it's been a while.
Because you're a Florida bird.
Yeah, I've been going to the Floridas. I've been escaping to Florida for a few years from the cold. Yeah, it can get cold there too. It's a different kind of cold, but I missed my family and I missed this place, and I really kept feeling like it was calling me. You know, it kept coming into my mind, this special place that I grew up, and I was like, well, am I supposed to go up there? I can't imagine it would be. And I did, and I met people and met people and met people, and it's like everyone was the answer to the prayers I was having when I was in Florida. So I can see why I was, redirected here to meet everyone who's in
More
the same
puzzle pieces.
integration. And yeah, like everyone I'm bumping into, what's your plan? Oh, I want to build community. We're using the verbiage, we're villages. We want to collaborate. We want to help each other, share knowledge and wisdom. To me, we're weaving the web back of life. So also I do therapy sessions like to help people reorganize their cells kind of thing. It's called, it's real technical. It's giggles and jiggles, right? So you come lay on my table and I giggle you and jiggle you and we reorganize, like we shake you out and let all of your cells completely relax as much as possible.
And I've had a session or two.
Yeah.
I'm up to two now. Yeah. And this is not only physical, but it's energetic work too.
Yes. And it's erasing patterns, right? So most of what we're doing today are patterns that were set in motion a while ago. And if we're unconscious or we think that we're right, then these patterns go on, keep creating these circumstances that we maybe want to change. So we want to be evolving. That's not staying in a pattern. So when we can see our patterns, we can break them, when we can consciously make a new choice. And practicing that, having an opportunity to do that.
And just like we're seeing on a mass, experience right now, how are we being reset for a new earth is through chaos. It's through jiggles.
It's like the body's trying to hold. I always think of the body as like a big brother. The muscles are like trying to hold you together because you have 1,000 things to do, and you don't know how you're going to do it. And you're just like, all of a sudden, you're just letting that go.
Yeah, you almost have to like shake it all up for it to reset.
Yeah, it gets confused. It's muscle confusion.
Yeah,
that's really what it is.
Muscle confusion.
It's like, oh God, okay, you can tell me anything. You know that when somebody comes to you and they're rubbing your head or something or your feet, and you're just like, okay, well, I would be really mad right now, except
I'm not mad at you right now
because it feels so good.
Yeah,
right, because you have positive chemicals. You have a pharmacy inside of your brain. I mean, all of the drugs at the Walgreens or whatever those stores are, whatever those things are. I don't even know if I can say that. Sorry about that. But all those pills are literally when someone tried to make something out of something else that comes naturally in nature. Because all the medicines that we need are here on the planet. In fact, here in Indiana, all the yards are full of medicine and the fields, What people call weeds are literal medicine that will heal us, and we don't. I have to pay.
Are you the one that sent me the dandelion thing? Somebody sent me
No,
something
that's
about dandelions and how healing it was. What does Big Pharma do? They come up with Roundup.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's genius. And it's funny when you go, we're spraying poison on our yards to kill the medicine, right?
It makes no sense.
But that's because that's what we are trying to do, is be a good follower and do the right thing. Right. What our parents said.
So trusting people out there.
Right.
Right. Just trust it.
Everyone was just trying to be a good boy or girl and do what their parents were doing or
what the community wanted them to do and the rest of the world wanted them to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them, because it's not easy being a rebel or a pirate or whatever you want to call it.
And it's not easy trying to keep up with all the things.
Yeah.
If you're not, you're doing the best with the education you've been given.
Right. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that a lot of people are falling through the cracks that have skills and they have brains, but they didn't think in the linear school fashion that sitting on a chair. Like for me, I was always a physical being. So like I got to run free. Like I can play in the woods, I got to go to the lake. Like I lived in a time when they would trust me by myself. I had no adults with me as a little kid, and growing up. So I spent a lot of time in nature, and I learned to count on myself, to trust myself. I feel like I grew up in 1973. I was born, and I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, and I had so much freedom. I had so much time by myself to communicate with myself, and I loved myself. Like I really liked myself. When I had to go to school, I realized like a lot of kids don't really stand up for themselves, or they don't really feel like confident,
or like they can.
Yeah, like they're not even try. Like they're not really engaged,
or they're not allowed to.
Yeah, like maybe because at home they're not allowed to, and I always felt sad for them. The ones that I was just like, come on, try. And they're just like, no, I don't want to. And I was like, why wouldn't you want to? Like, come on, of course you do. Now, through life now, I realize through experience that feeling that they had, I get it. But I also long for the one that I had, which was like, I was invincible.
Yeah.
I mean,
fearless.
Fearless. Yes, completely. And that's what I pray for, my innocence back, that my body will release the memories, that I will be brave enough within my emotional body to allow my physical body to release the memories so that I can walk freely down the street and have nothing from the past reminding me or pulling me away from this present moment now.
Yeah.
The smell of hot dogs does not remind me of the thing. I'm just like, oh, hot dogs night.
Yeah.
Like that kind of freedom.
Yeah.
Like nothing can yank my chain.
I think you do a really good job at showing your inner child to the world and embracing your inner child and walking in your inner child and then activating the inner child in those of us around you.
Yes, thank you. That isn't like my gift. Like, if you're having troubles, don't expect to come to me and have me kiss your booze. I'll be like, oh, let's go and have a Rachel day, and you don't get any say. And you're going to feel uncomfortable because it's okay, Healing is it's uncomfortable, but it's just for a minute.
Yeah.
I remember the moment when I was like, oh my gosh, to get this out of my body, all I have to do is feel it for a minute, a second, 30 seconds. And actually, when I do my movement patterns now every day, I feel the release and I feel the self-care and the love that I have for myself. I feel like I'm taking care of myself. I feel like I'm doing the things that are good for me. Where I think before subconsciously I was feeling bad about myself because I was drinking Diet Coke if I needed it, or slinking back coffees and going like, oh, I need these things to keep going because I'm not really entertained by this. You know what I mean? I wasn't doing the things that I wanted to do in life. I did all the things everyone said, like go to college, start a business, have a house and a car and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm a wild Indian. All right.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, it's it's not fun to me. This isn't fun to me.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that feel the same. They did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, like
Even myself, I woke up one day and was like, wait, I've done everything that society has told me to do that's supposed to lead you to the American dream of happiness. And I'm not happy, you know?
And I said, and I'm the most unhappy I've ever been. Yep. And something's got to change, you know, or
Yeah.
I don't want to be here.
Yeah. I love that you beat to your drum, that you follow your intuition, that you take it, that you follow it wherever it takes you on like this magical adventure of life, you know?
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear you say that, you know, because it's not, and when I was doing it, it did not seem, my perception was not that it was easy. You know what I mean? Because people, I found this out, it was really cool. When people have a lack of information, for some reason, they go to the worst case scenario. So, in order to be loving, you know, you can have your privacy, but be loving in the fact that the other person may need, right, a little bit of assurance as you're transitioning. Like if we need to pull away, like I did, I needed to pull away and start to hear my own voice and start to figure out what I wanted as opposed to my husband or my children or my mom or my parents or the church or whatever it was. And I was like, I put my phone, I said the message, like, I'm sorry, but I'm not able to answer my phone. I'm on a sabbatical. And you can leave a message and I'll get back to you when I feel like it's appropriate time. And I didn't listen to anyone. And I took words out of my like vocabulary and I listened to the same song over and over again that was just music. You know? I changed my whole environment. I let go of everything I knew. I stayed in a guest house. I tried to free my mind up to disidentify with everything that was not truly who I am, right? And make space for me to start finding out, well, what do I like, you know?
Yeah. You almost have to cut ties with everything, even if it's just temporary.
Yes.
Just to kind of really find your center and who you are so that you can walk the path true to you and not what this person expects of you and the church expects and the parents and society and culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we form like an identity, like
a false identity if we're
character.
listening to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Masks, illusions.
I mean, it's a way we can get along in society, and I like really respect and like honor people like yourself that have that can go into a place and you know be like a chameleon and know the social ways that they can fit in because I don't fit into a lot of places. You know, I'm a little bit not socially like you know
Eclectic. I can see you as being eclectic.
Yeah,
and that can make people feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Because they don't know how to place you in their mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's true. It's very true. And so you have to get used to that. So you're surfing alone again, you know? You're like surfing alone again. Okay. So it can be a lonely life, but one of the things I've been thinking about lately too is that almost everything that we are learning about, at least for me, in my experience here on the planet, everything that I've been told is almost the polar opposite of what I'm finding to be true. What's practically true, what's literally happening. So I question and I try to like turn everything that I think is true if there's a question about it, if there's a blip in the thing, why don't you flip it and see if the opposite is true? You know, just check it out. There's no trust your intuition, trust our gut, you know, trust our instinct, not survival instinct, but our intuition.
Yeah.
that comes from the heart.
Sorry, I'm just gonna turn this because I feel like I'm yanked.
I know.
Just to be able to see you.
And it's nice that you open your heart to me too, you know. That's a big, like, that's something that as a kid I was very aware of is
The people that had open hearts versus the people that don't.
right.
I think as children, you can really feel that energy much easier.
Yeah.
And then as adults, you kind of like layer all this crap on, and then it gets harder to discern. And then before you know it, you know.
Yeah, we like put on this armor. That's how I felt, like I had layers of armor on. And that I didn't feel anymore. I didn't want to feel anymore. It hurt too much to feel anymore, you know. And then I shut my heart down. When I shut my heart down, that's when my thinking started going, you know, in a different direction. And I was afraid. I was afraid to feel what it would feel like if my mom died. I was afraid to feel abandoned. I was afraid to feel all these things. And then I realized that my physical body was really, my accident was really a catalyst for my healing, because my physical body was now showing me that I wasn't walking my talk and living my life. You know, back then, back in the day when it happened, and uh, I couldn't, I wasn't in alignment.
Yeah.
I wasn't in alignment physically because I wasn't in alignment in all the other areas of my life. I was checking things out. I was questioning everything. I was getting pissed that the things I thought were true weren't true anymore. I was getting like, there's conspiracies happening here, some injustice, somebody's gonna fucking pay. Like, you know how you go through all that stuff. Like, then you're like big brother, big sister, or mama chicken. Like, you know, and you go through all this stuff and then you're just like, that doesn't feel good either. Fuck. Why do I always have to be mad? And it just boiled down. I went to all these like addiction study, like watching all these people, listening to their stories, and all these addiction classes and all these addiction like meetings that they have, you know.
Yeah.
I'm listening, and to the big ones, I went to even a big one, and it's like I realized people weren't taught to manage their feelings, or we were told, like, most, think about it, if there's a majority of individual people who have addictions, who didn't have great role models to express to them what to do with a feeling, with an emotion, you know. And so it's not the parents' fault or the grandparents' fault necessarily.
Right. They're doing the best that they know how.
They were shown to do that thing, and they're just doing it, right? So yeah, it's about, like, we have just forgive everyone and ourselves, and know that it's you're just practicing every single minute of every single day. And the breath. Yeah. The one thing I would say, like, is the breathe in. You know, if you don't know what to do, if you feel like your world's melting and you're not sure, just breathe in. If you're sitting in traffic in a car and you're looking at the stoplight, just breathe in. Everything else will take place from there, right? We breathe very shallow, which keeps the adrenaline pumping through our bodies, and then we slam down one of those things, drinkers, whatever things, and keep our heart pumping hard. What we need to do is learn to breathe our breath in, and we can count to 12 and breathe in, and then we hold it for 2, and then we exhale it and we release it. We let our bodies, like, just deflate, and then we inflate with the breath coming into the body, and then we deflate, just like a jellyfish in the water. You can feel yourself, and you can close your eyes, and you can let your imagination run wild and see yourself, your physical vessel, opening and closing on these microscopic levels, and it's pumping your brain, and it's cleaning your filters, and it's helping the flow. So it's softening you from being rigid. So they did this study, like, babies are born, they're 98% water, and then when we're dead, or like so dry, right? Oh. So if we want to stay healthy, we stay fluid, we stay open, and everything happens in swirls, right? We talked about this today, like moving in the swirly patterns, letting our bodies tell us what they need, being free to be childlike again. This is what we liked doing when we were kids. This is what wrestling, fidgeting, rolling around on the
bouncing
floor,
around,
feet up in the air, challenging ourselves in space, hanging on things. I mean, we very ever stayed
climbing,
still.
jumping.
Right.
Yeah.
And every time that we did those things, our body was taking scans constantly.
Taking in stimulation.
Yes.
But now it's this. Take this
And we
stimulation.
move in like one or two different planes, right? And that's literally what's making us, it's making us disintegrate.
Yeah.
Because we're not pumping, we're pumps, right? And we're filters, and we can open and let things flow through us. And there's so many ways to do it, you know? But it's all about us being happy and being in a higher vibe, being in a better, like whatever it is. If we have to work at our job on a computer, listen to the music that makes you feel like you're on a beach.
Yeah.
Control your environment and your feelings.
In any way that you can, even if it's a small little modification.
Yes. And you can, if you really want to, you can, like we can, if we really care about our feeling. And here's another idea that I thought was so cool. It took a while to get it, but it's really true. I've proven it to be true. Is that you're like a magnet inside of you, right? You're all these things, but like pretend there's a magnet inside of you and you are linked into a certain vibration. Like I told you earlier, I was linked into grief. So I didn't know. I just stayed in grief. I thought I was safe in grief. Fuck trying to feel better because you just keep going back to grief. So why?
Well, sometimes what's familiar becomes comfortable.
Exactly. Then that happens once you resign that, oh, I might as well stay in grief. Then you think that that's what life is. And then someone comes along and bumps into you and makes you remember, ooh, what it feels like to be giddy or free. And you're like, ah. And then all of a sudden, the boat turns around and you start going, I'm going to do this. Now I want to do that. And I want to do all these things I didn't want to do yesterday. And you start taking the steps towards doing it. And it's not like we're trying, you know? Like we're not going to the gym to build muscles. We're literally building our life because we're being magnetized towards it and inspired towards things, right? And the energy is pulling us. And we find ourselves in the right neighborhoods at the right time. We find ourselves going into the right shopping centers at the right time and bumping into the right people in the oddest of places, right? That we would never have done before. And we just feel these synchronicities are happening and the same words are flowing around us. And like what we used to have in our brain is literally around us.
Yeah.
And we can't believe it. We're like, is this real? Yeah, it is.
Well, speaking of running into people and magical encounters, I knew you from 2004.
Yeah,
2004. I got that job and met you. And, you know, then we went our separate ways and lived our lives. And at that time, I wasn't into yoga. I didn't even know what yoga was, you know? And then you went on your journey and I went on my journey. And then you walked in here one day and I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
What are the chances
I know.
of being like, you know, a random meet in 2004, you know, and then years go by.
Yeah.
And then a random run into again, you know,
and we're
here we are.
speaking the same language.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can't speak this language with just anyone.
Right.
So, and, you know, we speak an even better language, like it's when we're the two of us together. And I love that. And yet all those years ago, that's the catalyst for the change that happened in my life. Was I was in that space. And we shared physical space with each other.
Yeah.
But didn't really talk to each other, didn't share identities with each other or stories really too much. No. It was just bing, bang, boom.
Yeah. It was more probably energy, activation.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah. These two will meet again someday.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just cool to me.
I know, it was cool to me too. Because before I came here, you know, I said I was like asking the universe for what I wanted. And I thought, well, I'd really like to do all this fun stuff. You know, I'd like to joke. I'd like to, laughter is medicine, right? So I'd like to be the new age doctor, right? And I'd like to share what I know, but I like to have fun doing it, and I'd like to do it with fun people. So I don't want it to feel like work. I don't want it to feel like something, it's a have to. That's what I call it. I want it to be a get to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to meet all the ones who we can collaborate together and bring our powers together and help each other to, as our vibrations come together, we integrate and like help each other fill in spaces or share medicine with each other, like that was said earlier today, which I love that so much, you know. And even I feel like it's that we share pieces of ourselves with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have a medicine that I don't have, and I might have a medicine you don't have, and that person has their medicine. And how can we help each other heal?
Yeah, and a lot of times it's just about being in physical proximity because we are just getting used to each other's energy, you know? And we've all been guarded for a very long time. We've been on that path of I'll do it myself and
Oh, yeah.
look at me and I don't need anyone and I'm a world of my own and I'm separate from God and all that stuff, right? And then we go, okay, wait a second. This isn't even really that fun. There's nobody to talk to. Nobody cares about my ideas. Nobody to bounce anything off of. It's dull, dull, dull. It's all just my thoughts and my ideas, and it's dull. And then someone comes along and we're like, oh, and then we're like, oh, we scared them away. Why? Because we don't know how to be with another person now, right?
Right.
And so we're just like, oh, how do I do this? We have to learn how to integrate, or we have to learn how to do that and remain ourselves. And then it's like, to me, I feel like there's so many people inside of me. Like, I don't even know who I'm going to be when I wake up.
Right.
And I have conformed in my life. And I've played so many different roles, you know, like within myself. Just, I feel like a lot of times in my life, I had instant karma where if I judged a person, I had to then go into those shoes and walk in those shoes so that I could get a clear perspective. Which in the big picture I'm grateful for because I feel like that gives me integrity, you know, and things that serve me well in loving my fellow brothers and sisters. But when you can be a soul that just like my mom, she just listens to the role, so she just does it. Like her heart's all in on all that. She doesn't test anything or like, you know, it's not. It's her thing, like giving. And I know that there was something that we talked about earlier that I thought was really cool, and it was about how and I'm not going to speak for you, so I'm going to speak for me, but it was something you said that triggered in me is I was driving today and I was thinking about how there was a time in my life when my mom has changed lots of roles with me. Like I thought she was the biscuits and then I was like, oh, get away from me. I don't want to be like you. I'm going to go on Women's Lib and I'm going to do all these things like you fry bacon and you think it's cool and all this stuff and grow vegetables. I'm going to rule the world. You know, I'm going to be different from you. Like, that kind of thing. And then babies come and you're just like, Mom, I don't know how you did it. And you're like, oh, I love you so much, Mom, and all this stuff like that. And then they start dying. And then you go like, take all these pills and do these things for yourself so that you don't get sick. And they're like, no, I don't. I'm not gonna. And you're like, wait a second, hold on. No, you're gonna do this stuff and get yourself better because you're not eating this bullshit anymore. And they're like, no, I'm gonna keep eating this stuff. And essentially they're saying to you, I'm going to die. I'm going to leave you. Right? They're saying to you, I'm choosing this. So then I had to let go of maybe it's not bad for them. You know, maybe it's not bad for them. Maybe it's because I'm judging it, all these things. They have to go on their own path. And we come back together, and that's it. It was me being able to let go of what I was afraid she was going to do and become. That was dragging me down, making me grow old, and dragging her character down. And when I was able to walk away and say, it's not my responsibility, I'm going to let you be you, and I'm going to let you grow up on the level you are, but I'm going to go over here and do these things. I got to grow, and then she got to go through her stuff by herself. I was her scapegoat. She could run to me. I could validate her, and she could keep making the same stupid choices over and over again, right? But now when we get a chance to be alone, we become our own guidance,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
and we face ourselves. And then we can love each other because we don't get on our own nerves and then other people don't get on our nerves and they act like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the unloved parts of us, right?
I can relate with that because I thought, well, if I can heal my mom, I can heal anybody, you know.
Yeah.
And when we love someone, we want good things for them. We want the best for
We
them.
want them to live with us on the earth for as long as we live.
Yeah. And sometimes we want better for people what they can even imagine.
Right.
Right. So making peace with that and realizing that they have their own karma. Even homeless, you know, like when I see a homeless guy on the street, you know, people are like, oh, you should feed him, you should take him a blanket or a coat or anything. But then there's the thought of, am I stepping into his dharma or his karma? You know, everybody's on their own journey. And sometimes when we enable people, we're slowing down their lessons.
Right.
And we're getting in the way of their karma and the catalytic moments that might really make them grow.
Right.
We're oh so powerful, but sometimes we think we're more powerful than we are.
And you know, it's if we can accept the fact that, and this is it. It's like I look for the ease because I like ease. I like the game. Don't get me wrong, but I like to be able to get back to ease when I want to get to ease. Right?
Can we all just be at ease?
I mean, it'd be boring if we were. We
Really?
do really like the game. We do. We like it. We like it. And the reason we like ease so much is because we can surf into the higher intensities, right? Because if we were just hanging out in neutrality, we wouldn't care.
Well, I feel like we've been in fight, flight, freeze mode for so long that it's a time for ease. That things should come easy.
Yeah.
And people should be relaxed and joyful.
Right.
I mean, let's counterbalance all that fight, flight, freeze that we've been doing.
That's right. And we do it with our imagination, with our mind, and with our breath. We do it in here first and with this tool. And then we start to find that all of our activities are in a higher vibration.
Yeah. Follow your bliss. Do the things that you love to do. Follow your passion.
And turn on music, you know, like Earth, Wind, and Fire. I don't know who can stay sad when.
I'm
Do
Bob
you
Marley.
remember?
That's what I.
Yeah.
Bob Marley has turned around a lot of days for me.
Bob Marley, yeah, he was at the beginning of my journey too, and I didn't. He was my friend, but I really didn't know what to do with myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could marry him. I wish he were my soulmate, twin flame.
That's when I started looking up Rastafarians, and I'm like, that's what I would say that I am.
If I were to pick a religion or a label.
Yeah, if I picked a label. I'm not really happy so much. I'm not really so much a gypsy. I'm a gypsy, but I'm not. I identified with the Rastafarian and the nationalist, the one that wants to be closest to what's the earth pattern, you know?
Well, and that higher consciousness is the gateway, or higher consciousness is the path. You know, I really can relate because Rastafarians, they want to tap into that higher consciousness, and they feel like that's a gateway to Source, God. You know, and I can get on board with that.
Well, I went from not being able to meditate at all because I was a speed freak. Like I was like go 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 100 miles an hour, you know. And I went from that to being able to meditate for like 6 hours a day. 6 hours I could stay in meditation. And through the night, I would be in meditative state. I would not be really in a sleep state. My body would be light. I could sleep on the floor and I would not have any stiff muscles. And when I needed to move over and change and I would breathe, I would be like awake. I'd be moving and breathing through whatever was going on in my dream. Yeah, it was just, I was really just in this very.
Like a yoga nidra.
Very meditative, connected state of mind that it was all about trust, you know?
Yeah, deep state of consciousness where you're not awake but you're not asleep. Huh.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And the thing I learned about that is when you get to feel that, you don't really want to do all the other bullshit.
You realize that all the other stuff is bullshit.
You're like, I'd rather not eat than go to the grocery store. All right, that's like,
Yeah.
yeah, and you feel the feeling that comes from being so in tune that you know exactly what time it is because where the sun is. You don't even have to look at the sun. You just know what time it is. When you're so in tune and you hear the birds or whatever it is that clicks your trigger, you know, like some people like other stuff. Some people like to play the game of the microphones.
Oh.
I'm interested in this. I really want to start playing this kind of a game.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do. I want to do some podcasts. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to talk about, and I'd like to start making some videos on the exercises because I'm bumping into people who they're not going to come to the gym, and the gym, they like the privacy of their own home, you know, and I want to be able to have some videos out there that helps to start moving the spine, right?
Yeah.
And getting some things floating and flowing and moving, and then maybe we could videotape me doing a therapy session on you, and then partners, husbands and wives can jiggle and giggle
Each other.
Yeah. Like that would be a whole Valentine's one. We could do like
I would love that.
we could put it out there for Valentine's Day, right? And I can just see people like in their silky underwear rolling each other on the living room floor. And
light the candles, baby.
Yeah. And the roses or whatever you do. And then like those super soft blankets that are like better than bearskin
furry.
rugs. Fuzzies. Yeah. Lay that down on the floor and have some candles around and jiggle and giggle each other until you fall asleep. Like,
I love that idea.
Yeah. It's the fastest way to raise your vibration. You know? Laughing.
Yeah. Loosening up.
Forgetting. Anytime you can forget and let go. Who cares? You know, sometimes in life it comes down to like, are you going to be right or are you going to be happy?
And most of the time, stuff that we worry about doesn't even end up happening. And we wasted all that energy and that mental power.
Yeah.
And we raised our cortisol levels, stress hormones, and got ourselves all in a tizzy for how many hours? And all for nothing.
I know.
So people need to just relax.
This is one of the cool things that Jesus came to say. He was trying to teach us about the love mentality because he learned this in some of the mystery schools that he had gone to. He understood the power of the mind and the power of our imagination. So if we imagine it, in my meditations, I was imagining this new world. I was imagining a world where everybody loved each other and everybody got along together, you know? At the same time, I was feeling a lot of different feelings going through my body, like of abandonment or of mistrust or betrayal. And I was just trying to learn to sit with it and not have to be a victim of it or react or have a visceral reaction. I was trying to change my visceral reaction and be in control of myself and go, okay, so what if that person just doesn't love me anymore? What does that feel like? Okay, well, it's okay.
That's what I love about yoga because it starts to teach you how to look at things as the observer instead of the victim or the identifier or the thing that it's happening, the person that it's happening to. You can back up and get more of that shamanic eagle eye view.
Perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
The bigger picture. And that's why everything's a divine dichotomy. And that's why everything is this micro and macro. Because everything is true. We literally live in a field of unlimited possibilities. And the thing about it is when we go with our vibe, whatever that may be, we end up with others who are in that same vibe and we're there for a minute. And sometimes we're there for a season. And sometimes we leave and we never see each other. And sometimes we hang out together for a while. But we're all in this vibrational match. We're in the same kind of pond or lake that we're swimming through with each other.
Oh, what'd you say earlier? I loved it.
Yeah.
You're like, when you see something, instead of judging or whatever, I'm thankful that that's not me.
Right. I'm thankful I don't have to be that.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have to play that character.
Yeah, and Abraham Hicks talks about how we're given things all the time so that we can see the contrast.
Yes.
So we can see what we don't want.
Exactly.
Right?
Because it's the fastest way to realizing what we do want for some odd reason.
Yeah. And those are the best teachers because
Right.
we're like, I don't want to be that. Thanks.
Yeah, there's like we think a lot of things happen with our brain, but our brain is really limited because it's like a calculator and it's only by experience, like it's right. But our cells and our true self, our bigger self, has so much memory, right? So when we can learn to just listen in the moment, right? We don't have to know all the data. We realize that life is just about like we can ask the universe, what should I, and then the answer comes like that, like when I was in school, I would always know the answer, and the teacher would be like, "Where's your work?" And I'm like, why do I have to make work? Why do I have to write it out? I just know the answer.
I think that's part of the programming because my son deals with this. He always knows the answer. But when he tries to show his work, he's very tapped in. And I think that's part of that. Show your work, because if you can't show your work, then you learn on a subconscious level to second guess or doubt yourself. That's how deep this shit goes.
Yeah. And if you study education, public education, you find out that it was highly influenced by industrialization and the Gilded Age. Yes. And so what they wanted to do was to dumb people down and teach them how not to critically think, how not to think for themselves, how to follow instruction, how to do repetitive, monotonous over and over again.
How to be worker bees.
Yeah, how to work an assembly line, because that's what was needed at the time. They didn't want innovative men. They wanted, a few men at the top making all the decisions, and then they wanted, like you said,
obedient, compliant
worker
bees.
Right.
And yeah. And, we don't want to dwell on the past. We're trying to create a new world, right? We're both on that team.
Yeah. Well, it's here. And that's what I love about it is that YouTube and the things like YouTube, the technology has really given way for each individual to become the best at whatever they love. And that's what I like about it. We grew up in a world that was kind of limited to your physical proximity, what was available at the time. Like in the Midwest here, we have a bunch of farmers. Like it's not academically.
Yeah.
We don't talk about quantum physics very much. It's like, yeah. So I thought I wasn't very intelligent, and then when I started taking harder classes in school and they were easier for me, I was like, wait a second, maybe I am intelligent, and these classes were just dumbed down. And that's when I started realizing that there's so much more that makes so much sense, and it's all kind of like a pattern in nature.
Yeah.
And it's according to the 12 universal laws.
And there's so much out there that you can tap into.
Yes. And you can do anything that you want to do these days, and you can know about it,
Yeah. The possibilities are endless, and you can choose your timeline. And yeah, it's a very exciting time. Even though, like, we came from the dark ages, we've been in the dark ages. Yeah. What we're embarking on now is really magical. We get to watch it. We get to watch the transformation.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a bridge between two worlds. Like you probably feel that way too. Like I feel like I understand the oldies and I understand the newbies. Yeah. I don't understand my age group that much. Because I just wasn't in it.
Yeah.
I wasn't raised that way. Like they were.
Yeah.
But so I have a different point of view, and I thank you for listening, and thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh.
The thing, and more to come, hopefully.
You answered my question on what would be your advice for humanity. You were breathe, right?
Breathe in. Because if you just breathe in, you'll exhale, and then you'll breathe in again. A lot of times we're holding our breath, right? And that's another thing, real quick, before I go, is that when we are in like a fight or flight, fight, flight, freeze, right? So our bodies become rigid, like we talked about with the connective tissue, but our brains shut down. the more developed aspects of our brain literally shut down, and the primal brain works. And that's very concerned with our survival, just us surviving. That's like if a tiger is racing after us and we're just gonna just follow our um, instincts,
Yeah.
the instincts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have compassion. It's not looking out for the greater good. So if we are in that state of mind and we're making decisions from that place, our decisions are going to make sense to us because we're thinking it through
About
the
only our
primal brain.
survival. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's not necessarily what's best for the greater picture or for the all or for down the road. It's not necessarily well thought out because it's not maybe taking everything into consideration.
Yeah.
Because you're in fight or flight and all you care about is getting out of there.
Yeah.
Getting away from the situation, not investing in it.
Or learning from it.
Yes, exactly. Embracing it. Exactly. Yeah. So that's really the thing I found is like as soon as you can flip the script, if you can stop in front of that tiger, turn around and hug it. The faster you can do that and here and here and here, turn around and hug it, you realize that it's just like that cute tiger on the Wizard of Oz.
The lion with you went for a heart, right?
Yeah. And remember when he got his feelings hurt? He melted. And you got to see he wasn't so tough.
Yeah, he wasn't so tough.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to follow that up with like, okay, so fight, flight, freeze is sympathetic nervous system, survival mindset. So parasympathetic nervous system could maybe is the rest, digest, restore, heal state, could be thrival state.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, when you
thrival.
said yeah,
right.
Instead of survival, thrival.
So
and instead of instinct,
intuition, exactly. And so it's just a shift, and we do it through the breath. How do we neutralize adrenaline in our body? We start to breathe in our nose, very slow, resting our tongue on the roof of our mouth, because there's an acupressure point there that stimulates the pineal gland, stimulates our relaxation hormones. And then we breathe in our nose and we fill ourselves up with oxygen because the muscles, everything loves oxygen. And then we hold for a few seconds to let it saturate our bloodstream, right? And our muscles and everything. And then we exhale, release, and we let it go. And we let all the tension, all the gases, all the carbon dioxide, the things that are no longer needed by this vessel, the thoughts, the beliefs, the attitudes, the behaviors, the ideas, the memories that no longer serve the new agenda, which is what? Happiness, peace, joy, harmony. We're going towards harmony. We don't care about being right. We realize it doesn't matter if you're right if everybody's constipated. It's not fun. It's so not fun.
No.
Right? We gotta open the flow zone and let it flow within us. And then we become a magnet for more people, places, and things of that like vibration.
Yeah.
And we start to enjoy life. And we realize that suffering has its purpose.
Yeah.
And we don't have to be there. It's our choice. Our free will. So practice having the feelings. Practice the feelings. I tell myself this all the time because it's a whole new concept.
And it's always good to be remembered. My teacher always said it's always good to return to the basics.
To the basics.
Yeah. You can never not return to the basics. I mean, you can always come home to the basics. Yeah.
That's right. And that's another thing we talked about earlier today that I think would behoove everyone to understand or think about, the new concept of we live in a world of duality. So there's hot, cold, right? Up, down, right? And then there's everything in between. And it's a place where we're never really quite in balance. We never stay in balance. Maybe the moment that we die or something, we're not in balance necessarily. We're finding balance all the time. And we're coming into balance all the time. We're correcting, we're course correcting. So if we can see the other ones, our friends and family, that they're too coming into balance. They're learning how to set boundaries, but not to be too bold. They're learning how to speak up for themselves, but in a gracious way, not to hurt people's feelings. Like they're learning that we're all just learning how to take a compliment, how to give a compliment, how to receive from someone without feeling embarrassed, how to let go of shame and guilt. Like these are all new things that we're trying to do, and our behavior can be a little bit wobbly. So
You sent me a YouTube video, and I love this part where it talked about when you see someone that has the crazies. I don't know if you remember this because this was a 6-hour thing, but it's when you see someone have the 6-hour, or when you see someone have the crazies, know that they're going to be a great teacher, because the crazies, just like the chaos, resets.
Yeah.
So when you see someone going through it, losing their shit, they're on the brink.
Of a breakthrough, right? They're going to be the next guru. They're going to be the next one standing still in the middle of the storm. Right.
Yeah. Breakdowns lead to breakthroughs.
So tell them good job when they're acting like a fool, and mean it, you know, and have like compassion's cool to feel. Like, and that's another thing about love. Like, I found too that, like, what is the self? What is it? What does self mean? Well, I'm selves, which sounds like cells. So I'm like a universe of a bunch of cells, right, that are working inside of me. And my attitude is affected by what I put into myself, what I put into my eyes, what I put into my ears, what I put into my everything. So it's true for the first whatever amount of years I had to let other people put things into me, right? I was still had free will to choose whether or not I agreed with what they were saying about those things, right? And I did make up my own mind about some of that stuff with a real attitude, because I started getting kind of pissy at the fact that I didn't feel appreciated on the planet. You know, I felt like everything that came naturally to me was like, we don't do that. That's inappropriate. You know, we sit like this, we cough like this, we talk like this, we, you know, all these things.
So rigid.
Like, yes, it was all these things. Like, how do I remember all this stuff? And then it was just really totally opposite. So it would make you like second guess myself. Like I would feel like there's something wrong with me. I don't fit in here. I felt like I got dropped off here, you know? And now I think like, yeah, I might be from the future, you know,
but you're here to create,
help usher in
the new world.
Yeah. And through my power of my imagination. Because some of us have some great imaginations, and we can manifest things.
Even if people think we're crazy.
That is the truth. And those are the visionaries.
Yeah.
You know, we're pro-vision. We see the vision of what's going to be needed in the future so we can get it going. So when it gets here, it's here.
Yeah.
And when everybody needs, like you did with this place, when everybody needs it, it's like, you've been here for a couple of years, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it was a God.
You know,
you know, people have negative connotations around God, but it was a universe. It was a source. I was activated and told, you know.
And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, I didn't always listen. I played the rebel a lot, you know. I don't know why.
I went through, like, it was crazy. Like, people were like, what are you doing? Get a job. And I was like, I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah, conviction. Yeah, that feeling of knowing. Very few people get the experience of that. They're so blessed, right?
Deep in your bones, you know, even when people think you're crazy. It's okay.
Yeah.
It was the power of learning to listen to myself.
Exactly. And nobody can take that away from you.
Right. Anyways, you do this. You have this magical ability.
What?
We're supposed to be talking about you.
No, you do that. You're so good at getting me to talk about myself.
I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you for being a guest on my show.
Oh my goodness, I'm so honored. Yes.
Thank you guys for tuning in,
everyone.
And I would love to have you on again, whether it's this or another show that we have.
Sure.
Do jiggles and giggles and exercises and whatever you want to do.
Yes, I need to get in front of this camera more. I know that. And I thank you for helping me have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, people need your medicine.
Yes, I do know. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye. Bye.